You've definitely seen plenty of cars like this on Craigslist with plenty of mods that you think are sick and maybe the price isn't too bad. Well, conveniently, my boy Pumphrey just bought somebody else's project car.
It's the car from the cartoon!
So today we're gonna go through the whole mod list on Pumphrey's new 8.6, make sure everything's there, make sure it's working, and not trying to kill my boy. By the end of the day, we should have a good summary of what kind of shape this thing is in and whether or not he made a good move buying it. We'll also be able to give him a to-do list of all the stuff he needs to fix and make a determination on whether or not buying somebody else's project car is a good choice. Now, he probably should have done this before he bought it, but he already bought it, so let's do it.
Looks good.
Big thanks to Off the Record for sponsoring this week's episode of Money Pit.
I just got a gosh darn ticket on the way here.
Is this you struggling to pay your fines? Need to keep points off your license? Are you afraid to fight your ticket? You think paying the fine is the only way? What can you do?
There's gotta be a better way.
Right you are, James. That's where Off the Record comes in. They'll connect you with a local attorney that'll fight your tickets on your behalf. And even more, they'll help you keep your insurance premiums low, which often saves you more money in the long run.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. Tell me more.
Okay, well, 1 in 5 people get a ticket every year, and D-holes like you are definitely gonna get more than one ticket, especially after a 4th of July weekend. The average ticket costs about 150 bucks, which is a lot of green, and not the kind of green that we like. The best part is they have a 97% success rate, and they even have a money-back guarantee. Go to offtherecord.com/donut or use the Off the Record app. Use the code DONUT to get 10% off. Be safe out there, my D-holes. Now, it's one thing to buy a project car off somebody you know, somebody whose work you trust to be high quality. It's a completely different thing to buy a project car in a various state of disarray that you're getting a good deal on because it's gonna need a lot of work, time, and money before you even get to enjoy it. So why don't you tell me all the things that you know are broken on the car?
It's got a lot of rattles coming from a lot of different parts of the car. The timing belt is squealing, I know that. The speedometer definitely doesn't work. The oil temp gauge I'm 50-50 on. Also the coolant temp gauge. The roll bar, which is cool, has some questionable hardware in it. The interior is a mess. Oh, the fog lights don't work. The headlights don't go down sometimes. The steering is a little loose. The paint is bad.
That is a lot longer list than I was expecting.
Oh, there's tons of oil leaks. It's just puking oil.
Nice, nice. Yes, I mean, it sounds like it's in good shape. Sounds like everything's great. Okay, so now that we know that everything's wrong with it, let's go take it for a drive. See what this thing's got. Let's rip this little turd. Oh, this thing is sick. All right, let's see here. Coolant temp gauge working. Oil temp gauge working. Check engine light, not on. That's important. Speedo, yeah, not working. Fuel gauge works. Man, honestly, hey, the windshield wipers work. Oh, all right, that could use tightened up, I guess. I don't know why he's even the slightest bit concerned. Oh my God, that's so fun. It just wants to come around. Brake pedal feels good. Wow, and the e-brake works. What a gem. This thing's gonna be just fine. Yeah, dude, it rips. The test drive was definitely a positive. Sure, it makes some weird rattles, some funny noises, and some odd feelings, but none of it feels too serious. It doesn't feel like it's gonna kill me. So far, things are looking pretty good. But we need to put the thing on jack stands, get under it, and get our knuckles good and greasy so we can really see what's going on. So the pinch weld is where the unibody kind of comes together, and it's what I'm supposed to use to jack this thing up, and where I was planning on putting the jack stand. But it's pretty beat up, so I think I'm going to use a different part of the chassis. Okay, she's jacked up. Let's take a trip to the engine bay and see what's going on in there. Not too bad. I don't know, Pump. I'd say you're doing okay.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna check the oil. Looks fresh. Did you just dump a bunch of oil in here to drive here? Yep. Now, we need to find out where all this oil is coming out. There's definitely oil coming out around the valve cover. That's a sign of a bad valve cover gasket, and it's an easy thing to replace. It's usually pretty cheap too. It'll probably cost them 20 or 30 bucks and take them a couple hours. Let's go write it down. Which way do you think I should make the list? That way?
Probably.
Probably. So far, I'm not too scared. I'm not too concerned. We've got a decent looking bay here. So the battery looks great. Terminals look nice and clean, no corrosion. That's always what you want to see. I know Pumphrey was a little bit worried about the state of the wiring here, and at a glance I can see why, because it looks a little bit like spaghetti. There's some wires hanging out. The wiring is okay, it's just ugly. So we got a little cleanup project here. All right, let's go put cleanup engine bay wiring on the list. Let's see what we can see behind this timing cover. Well, hopefully we'll get a look at like cam seals, see if there are any more engine leaks going on back here. Get a look at the timing belt as well, see what kind of shape it's in. Looks, I mean, if I were guessing, I would say it looks relatively new. It does look like there's some seepage down here, which could still be the valve cover gasket, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess that the cam seals are leaking too. And really, while you're doing the valve cover gasket, it's usually pretty easy to do the cam seals as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those on the list. So we heard this thing squeal when we started it up, and I think that the accessory belt down here is a little loose. I mean, this is one of those things that we could put on the list, or I could just help the boy out real quick. I think I'm gonna retension the belt for him. Nice guy thing to do, or what? Okay, so I just got done retightening this belt. Feels great. Hopefully it won't squeal on startup now. And man, I just see so much oil. This thing is soaked, coated, covered, dripping in oil. The oil pan gasket, or lack thereof, is definitely a huge leak, so that's gonna move right to the top of the list. I mean, this thing is losing so much oil. It's insane. So this is actually an engine swap. This is a 4AGE from a later Corolla, and it's supposed to make, I think, about 130 horsepower. Sure, it's a little leaky, but this is a pretty sweet engine and is what makes this car so fun to drive. All right, so we're gonna pull out the spark plugs real quick, take a look at them, just make sure it looks like there's nothing out of the ordinary going on. Oh, what do you know? They're sopping wet with oil. Another sign that the valve cover gasket is leaking around the plugs. Oh yeah, it's wet down in there. It's wet. So, just gonna try to clean it up for him until he gets it fixed. Also, because I'm about to pull these plugs out. Apart from being completely soaked in oil, it looks pretty good. The electrode is a nice tan color, looks nice and uniform. The ground strap is still in good shape, there's no erosion. This looks like a healthy running engine for sure. So if the next 3 plugs look like this, we're gonna be happy. Now that's a lot drier of a plug. Things seem to be in better shape back there. Sparktacular. All right, so after having gone through the engine bay, let's talk it over real quick. In terms of negatives, sure, we've got some oil leaks. The valve cover gasket needs replaced. The oil pan gasket needs replaced. The belt needed tightened up. And we've got a little missing hardware, and this wiring could use cleaned up. But we've also got the engine that you want. We've got the swapped high compression, higher power engine, and it seems to be running great. Sure, it's got some leaks, but the spark plugs look great. We've got our strut bar, we've got a sick radiator, great battery. So with that short list considered, I'm calling the engine bay a positive. Positive in the engine bay. Now it's time to move on. Let's do steering, suspension, and brakes. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do before I take the front wheels off is give it a front end shakedown. I'm gonna quickly check the ball joints, the wheel bearings, and the tie rod ends just by jerking the wheel around a little bit. So side to side, this is how you test for tie rod ends. If your tie rod end is bad, you'll feel some clunking right here. I don't, feels nice and tight, so our tie rod on this side is good. That's great. Now let's check for the wheel bearing. Grab it at the top and bottom, shake back and forth. If you feel play, any clunking, then your wheel bearing is going out. I'd say that's pretty normal for this kind of car. I think this uses old boy taper bearings, so that's normal. So now we're gonna check ball joints, which is also easy. Take this Apple box and a pry bar, we'll get under the tire, and we're gonna bounce it up and down. And while we do that, looking for any play, also feeling for any play, and I don't feel any. Feels nice and tight. Sweet. It's not what you want. Feels like a wheel bearing. Okay, so the good news is I think the wheel bearing's okay. I think the coilover is just loose. So I'm gonna tighten that up and shake it again, see if that fixes the noise. Okay. Hey, clunk be gone. Just gotta tighten up those coilovers. Gretty coilovers are cool, but they're not cool if they're about to come off. All right, so now that we have the wheel off, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a quick inspection and just kind of give everything a once over, make sure everything's okay. The brake line looks nice, it's braided, that's cool. Let's see what the brake pads look like. Plenty of life, plenty of life. We've got some wetness going on down here at the bottom of the brake caliper. I wonder where that's coming from. Must be coming from the piston, I guess. Well, that's a little bit of a bummer. So to fix the brakes, you can rebuild brake calipers, or you can just replace them. That's probably what I would go with after the low power steering thing. Probably just replace them. All right, so we've gone all the way around the car now. We've checked the suspension, the brakes, and all the steering components. And the only issue we found was a slightly leaking brake caliper on the passenger side. So steering, brakes, and suspension pretty much check out. I'm gonna call them a positive. Okay, so now I just got done looking at the fuel system, and it looks old, but it looks fine. All the hoses are in good shape, hose clamps are in good shape. You can see some of them have been replaced. So the fuel system overall, from what I can see, gets a positive. So after inspecting the chassis in general, I think I'm gonna call it a neutral. Here's the deal. We've got some damage. We've got the pinch welds that are smashed to hell, and we've got this kind of frame rail, whatever you wanna call it, that's smashed in over here. Not great, but there's also not a lot of rust, and the fact is AE86s are by and large pretty beat up. So in relative terms, this looks pretty good. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. It doesn't make me feel warm fuzzies, so I'm gonna give it a neutral. All right, so I can get into the bell housing here, and well, it's definitely damp. I'm gonna say I think the rear main's leaking a little bit too. Man, this thing has all of the oil leaks, just soaking wet. All right, so we've got at least, I'd say, a rear main seal leak and or an input shaft seal leak on the transmission. That's probably the biggest negative in my book because that's kind of a big job. You got to pull the transmission out to fix this. That's something that could take this from a car that makes sense to buy to one that doesn't, depending on your skill set or how much you feel like taking out a transmission. It also sounds like the throwout bearing is going too. When you put the clutch in and when you manipulate the clutch, you can hear some kind of funny noises. So the transmission's gonna have to come out, the throwout bearing is gonna need replaced, the rear main seal is gonna need replaced, and while you're in there, you might as well do the transmission input shaft seal since you've already got the transmission out. So in terms of the transmission, this thing gets a negative. We got a lot of leaks and this big thing needs to come out to fix them.
That's what I'm talking about, like the kind of catastrophic things that I don't want to happen.
Okay, so a lot of the nuts and bolts have been touched and looked at, and so far we're doing okay. Now let's take a nice general gander at the exterior and see how things are going, see if all the stuff's there, see if anything's trying to fall off.
The exterior is the largest organ on a car.
Okay, so one of the things I want to do is find where all the tires are rubbing and where some of these rattles are coming from. So we're going to look in the fender wells right now and just kind of get an assessment. Okay, first off, so the fender can easily be rolled and that will help alleviate some of the rubbing that happens on the outside of the tire. Just roll this puppy in a little and that'll fix that. The zip tie situation here is obviously not ideal, but kind of cool.
Functional.
Functional as hell, Eddie. All right, so we've got a little missing hardware here on the fender, which I think is creating one of the rattles that we had. Right up there and right down there. We're also missing a bunch of hardware down here, so I'm just gonna try to find a bolt that'll fit, that'll stop all this rattling. Okay, so after going over the body, there are some things that need a little bit of attention, like the fenders could use rolled. We could stand to add some hardware back into this thing. And yeah, we're covered in dents. We have a sweet tape antenna delete. The trim is fading. Listen, it's a 30-something-year-old car. It's not in great shape. But the fact that it's not in great shape also kind of works as a positive because it made this thing more affordable. So in terms of the body overall, I'm gonna go with a high neutral, low positive. All right, now that we've got the exterior all figured out, let's do the last thing on the list. Let's check out the interior. Honestly, first thing I noticed is that the interior is really complete. And most 8.6s I've ever seen are not this complete. The roll bar is sweet. Let's see what kind of wiring bullshit we got going on down here. All right, so there are some extra wires down in the knee area. So, you know, an afternoon of organizing these wires, tying them up in the right spots, and fixing things like this. Like, I'm not a big fan of using these wire nuts. Yeah, just solder that. But again, that's not a big deal. It's easy to do and kind of satisfying. But it is another chore that's gonna need tended to, so let's put it on the list. Do we know what this switch does?
It's supposed to be the fog.
Oh, let's see if she works. Are they on?
No.
Nice. All right, so the fogs don't work, so that's a bit of a negative. This car came with an auto power roll bar, which is pretty cool, but some of the hardware was loose on it, so I'm just tightening it up. It's real easy. The seat backs on both seats are coming apart, but the good news is this is a really easy fix. All he needs to do is go to the store, get some hardware to replace where it's missing. Honestly, this is the perfect kind of thing to be wrong with a car, in my opinion. It kind of looks a little janky, but you spend a few hours on it and you'll fix it up with no problem and for only a few bucks. But for now, it still goes on the list. There's no stereo. That kind of sucks. I need music when I drive. That's just how I am. I know Pumphrey's kind of the same way, so that's kind of a negative. All right, so the interior, overall, from where I'm sitting, it's a positive. This is a 30-something-year-old AE86 that have all been abused, and this thing is in pretty complete shape. These seats are awesome. It's got both door panels. Sure, it's got some things that need fixed, but overall, this is a huge positive for me. So let's get out of the car, put it back together, and then we'll tally up all of our positives and negatives and see whether or not this purchase was a good one. Not bad. All right, so after looking at the engine bay, the steering, the suspension, the brakes, the chassis, the electrical system, the body, the interior, after looking at the whole car, my assessment is that this was a great purchase. This thing rips. They say never meet your heroes, but I don't know if that's true, because this thing's one of mine, and I'm glad to have met it. But you gotta remember, guys, this stuff is all subjective. It really comes down to you and what you like and what you want to spend your time doing. People like me, people like Pumphrey, we love pieces of crap like this, and we want to spend our spare time working on them.
Honestly, this was a lot better than I was expecting. This is exactly what I wanted the car for. A lot of little weekend projects, and then one kind of big one, but again, that's what Nolan's for. Turns out buying someone else's project car sometimes is worth it. That's right. And this was a good one. I'm stoked.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked this episode, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to learn more about the AE86, check out this episode of Up to Speed. And if you want to learn more about this specific AE86 and watch it get fixed, then follow Pumphrey on Instagram @JamesPumphrey. Follow me @ZachJob and Donut @DonutMedia. I'll see you guys next week.